Hello, Crypto Juggernauts. This is Mike from Mx3 Crypto Report, and I am joined by Mark.
Hello, everybody.
And we are back for part 2 of the Bitcoin fall case could put cryptocurrency tracing on trial. So let's get at it. All right, Mark, you want to pick that up from where we left off?
Yep. We talked about the cryptocurrency being on trial. We talked about at part 1 when we talked about cryptocurrency tracing being on trial and Mr. Sterlingoff's being accused of stealing Bitcoin, embezzling Bitcoin. But he's brought the question, or his legal team has brought into question the cryptocurrency tracing method. So just to get caught up to date, take a quick look at part 1 and then watch this part 2, and you will find everything very interesting. This story is very interesting. So Taylor, let's go ahead and pick up on part 2.
All right, let's do it.
Hard for me to say anything specific. Even if the government can prove that Sterlingoff created a website to promote BitcoinFog.com in 2011, however, and Eklund argues that even that is based on faulty IP address connections that came from Sterlingoff's use of a VPN, Eklund points out that's very different from running the Bitcoin Fog dark web service for the subsequent decade it remained online and laundered criminal proceeds. To show Sterlingoff's deeper connection to Bitcoin Fog beyond a domain registration, the IRS says it used blockchain analysis to trace Bitcoin payments Sterlingoff allegedly made as test transactions to the service in 2011 before it was publicly launched. Investigators also say that Sterlingoff continued to receive revenue from Bitcoin Fog until 2019, also based on their observations of cryptocurrency payments recorded on the Bitcoin blockchain. Eklund counters that the defense hasn't received any details of that blockchain analysis and points out that it was left out of the most recent superseding indictment against Sterlingoff, which was recently filed. That means, he argues, that the government has based the core of its case on an unproven, relatively new form of forensics, one that he says led them to the wrong suspect. Has it been peer-reviewed? No, Eklund says of blockchain analysis. Is it generally accepted in the scientific community? No. Does it have a known error rate? No, it's unverifiable. They can say total nonsense and everyone has to take it on faith. Eklund says that discovery documents in the case show that the prosecution's cryptocurrency tracing was performed with tools sold on Chainalysis, a New York-based blockchain analysis startup, along with consulting help from Exigent, a government contractor specializing in cybercriminal and cryptocurrency investigations, which Chainalysis acquired in 2021. Eklund argues that Chainalysis, valued at $8.6 billion in a recent investment round and frequently used in high-profile cybercriminal law enforcement investigations, had a conflict of interest in the case, given its financial dependence on U.S. government contracts and a flow of former government investigators who have gone to work for Chainalysis.
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Let's pause it there for a second. It sounds like this is getting more and more like a bad episode of Law and Order, man.
Yeah.
You know, they're tracing funds that this guy received from Bitcoin Fog website, but he already admitted that he's the website. He created the website, and he creates websites on the dark web for people. So that's like saying you get a paycheck from your job, whatever XYZ company, and so we're arresting you for stealing. You got funds funneled to you, so we're arresting you from stealing. You know, when I'm getting funds because I work there, I do work for them, and it's the same thing here. And then for them to be using companies that basically have a vested interest in contracts for the government That's a conflict of interest right there. And if that were in the public space as opposed to the government space, that would have gotten kicked out like right away. So what the heck is going on here?
I mean, the entire premise, the entire premise is I see why they call it the Bitcoin fog case, because almost everything about this case is foggy.
It's foggy.
I mean, every aspect of it, just like when they talk about chain analysis.
Yeah.
So chain analysis is supposed to be the ones to verify the government's procedure on the cryptocurrency tracing. That's what it sounds like.
Yes. Yes.
But chain analysis, it sounds like chain analysis is the only one besides the government that has access to the cryptocurrency tracing method and the information that they use to charge Sterling off. But we kind of mentioned it in part one that this has so many pieces that fit together just like Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence. I mean, Mr. Robot is a series that talks about how a hacker manipulated the system, and and Bitcoin was involved. Well, they call it eCoin. I think they call it eCoin. But
well, actually, eCoin is the eCoin is the money that the bank came up with to counteract cryptocurrency. But it's kind of similar in that there's elements where the government is kind of new in that space, but they're still betting the house on their processes and procedures.
Now, I thought eCoin was the cryptocurrency that was put out by eCorp.
Yes. Or yeah, Evil Corp. Yeah.
Evil Corp.
Right.
but even with everything wrapped around with eCorp and eCoin and hacking, and then to look at this story and Sterlinghoff's the head of his legal team is a famous hacker defense attorney.
Yeah.
I mean, they might as well just call this Mr. Robot case, the Mr. Robot case, because everything is lining up exactly like Mr. Robot.
Yeah, the attorney seems to have more knowledge in this space than the government and more legitimacy.
Yeah. And everything that he's saying, it lines up. And just like when they said that they don't have access to what the government is charging Sterling off for, they don't have access to it. So how can you defend yourself against something that you can't even say? You won't even show proof. You won't even show the defense team the evidence of what they're being charged of.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you could go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to be honest with you, the courts, and I'm assuming this is a federal court, the court should have mandated that the government, exclude or included all this in initial discovery. I'm not a lawyer, but I watch a lot of legal stuff on TV, so I know that to be true. So the fact that they're not presenting the defense with all this information, and the courts haven't required them to do so. Oh, you know what? Let me back up on that. We're not actually. They haven't gone to court yet.
Right.
The guy is actually still waiting to actually, they haven't even said whether he's been charged. He's been held.
Right. He's in jail. He's been in jail for what, 15 months now.
Yeah. But even when you're being accused, you still have to, the government still is required to present this information. I kind of go back to, I don't know if you have or if anybody in the audience has, there's a book called The Surrender Experiment. And it's about this guy who basically spent the majority of his life, on a spiritual journey. And every aspect of his life they kind of go through. But he rose to actually, of just all these different things happening, he was put in a position to be the head of this huge company, or he built a company which was acquired. It got bigger, and there was some legal problems. They wound up, the FBI came in at one point, took everything. They were charging these guys, all the executives, with certain crimes. Turns out, and I hate to kind of, if you may or may not read the book, but basically there was a guy who was a manager who was literally extorting these different companies that they were acquiring, and they found out, the head of the company found out. They were investigating him. They had him arrested, the whole 9 yards, but he told a lie to the FBI to make it seem like the executives were doing this. And then the same thing happened. They got all their computer system, paper, everything. They got all their information, and then they started coming up with these charges and information and stuff that was just kind of pieced together that you can interpret it any kind of way. And once the judge required them to submit this stuff for evidence, then that's when they were able to start kicking all of these things out and getting so many charges dismissed. But initially, the FBI withheld this. They just kept saying, we have this evidence that shows this, we have this evidence that shows that. When in fact, at the end of the whole thing got kicked out. And everybody pretty much got off. So I swear, so many parallels to this. So I guess let's go ahead and listen to the rest, and let's see at some point if there's some kind of resolution.
Right.
Okay.
This is a story of people profiteering and advancing their careers, throwing people in jail to promote their blockchain analysis tool that is junk science and doesn't withstand any scrutiny, says Eklund. He adds that based on the evidence provided in Sterlingov's case, he believes Chainalysis is the Theranos of blockchain analysis. Chainalysis declined to comment about the motions that have been filed, their broader implications, or Eklund's characterization of its work. Sterlingov, for his part, says his cryptocurrency holdings, all of which were frozen at the time of his arrest, came not from Bitcoin Fog, but from early investment in cryptocurrency. He concedes that he did send and receive payments to Bitcoin Fog as a user of the service, seeking privacy, but he says he didn't use his Bitcoins for anything illegal. I think some of my transfers must have gotten mixed up with everything, he says. Along with their motions, the defense filed 2 expert declarations with the court, one from cybersecurity researcher Chris Vickery and the other from intelligence analyst Eric Garland. The documents are meant to support Sterlingov and his lawyers' accusations about the prosecution's digital forensic analysis and Chainalysis and Exigent's alleged conflicts of interest in investigating Sterlingov's potential ties to Bitcoin Fog. Sterlingov, who moved with his family from Voronezh, Russia to Gothenburg, Sweden when he was 14, also argues that as a Swedish citizen he should be tried in Sweden rather than the United States. He had flown to the U.S., he says, only to go to flight school to train as a commercial pilot. His defense has argued in recent motions that the District of Columbia prosecutors charging Sterlingov have no venue to pursue the case, given that he has no connection to Washington, D.C. I don't understand how I'm in an American jail. I've never done business with America, says Sterlingov. I'm worried. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm thousands of miles from my home. If I were some kind of crypto criminal kingpin, which I'm not, Sweden could deal with me. Furthermore, Sterlingov's lawyers argue in their motion to dismiss that the statute of limitations has run out on the charges against him, since the alleged conduct at issue, including registering the bitcoinfog.com domain and conducting particular Bitcoin transactions, occurred in 2011. The motion argues that 3 of the counts brought against Sterlingov have a 5-year statute of limitations, and that one has a 6-year statute. Given that blockchain analysis and cryptocurrency payment tracing techniques have matured over the past decade and have become central to many cybercriminal investigations in the US and worldwide, it is inevitable that their methodology and validity will be called into question and interrogated. Sterlingov's case is taking the first step to establish that battleground. Like what you learned? Subscribe.
Okay. Well, man, what do you think?
I think that was a good point that Sterlingov brought up, that he's a Swedish citizen. So why is he being tried here? And the more we look at it, because it says Sterlingov is a 33-year-old Swedish Russian national. He was arrested by the IRS criminal investigators at the Los Angeles airport. So when he flew into the United States, they arrested him?
Yes.
It sounds like they've been waiting for him. It sounds like they were waiting for him.
Maybe that's why it took him so long. Oh my goodness. Wow. Well,
just to point out that I mean, he brings up a good point. Sterlingov brings up a good point that he's a Swedish citizen, but he's arrested by the IRS.
Yep.
In the United States.
Yep.
But he doesn't, if he's a Swedish citizen, does he file taxes? Does he earn a living here in the United States? I'm confused as to where the IRS come in at.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's really confusing to me.
And he hasn't done business with any Americans. The blockchain and cryptocurrency is not location specific, it's the blockchain.
Right.
So where do they get their jurisdiction from? How do they claim jurisdiction on something like this? And then in terms of the blockchain tracing in and of itself, everything on the blockchain is transparent. There shouldn't, and the FBI has done investigations on blockchain tracing, because anybody can do that. I've done that to find out where specific funds, you can find out the origin of any coin. Mm-hmm. You can trace it on the blockchain. So for them to say that they're tracing these funds, I mean, wow, that's just so much of a leap.
Yeah,
that's just a tremendous leap.
It's so much, and again, it's so confusing to me, because again, if cryptocurrency tracing is on trial, and again, Sterlingov, he's a Swedish Russian citizen. He said he's a citizen of Sweden.
Yep.
The IRS arrested him at the Los Angeles airport, but currently the Justice Department are the ones that brought the charges against him, and he's being held in a Virginia jail.
Yeah. So
why okay, he was arrested in LA, but he's being held in Virginia?
Yeah.
That's the other end of the country, and he was arrested by the IRS, but the Justice Department are the ones bringing the charges.
Yeah. And the website itself, I mean, even if the website, which I doubt seriously, is being hosted on a server in the US, which again I seriously doubt, that's really still, you're on thin ice there.
Yeah.
To even try to claim some kind of justification for that. So I kind of feel like, oh man, I kind of feel like the government is taking just way too much. They're stretching. They're really kind of stretching. The website wasn't owned by anybody, by any Americans. So, and there are no laws in the books, because there's so many people who have pulled crypto scams and have money in wallets and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, whew, I understand that in terms of keeping American citizens safe, that's one thing. But people who have stakes in this website, they never said that anybody brought anything to them in terms of asking them to investigate this. So it seems to me like it's just too much of a stretch, and it really does.
Yeah,
and the evidence is thin as paper.
Yeah, and it's twisting.
Yeah.
It's so twisting. I mean, they arrested in LA, the IRS, the Justice Department are bringing the charges. He's held in Virginia
for 15 months.
For 15 months, and
not even charged with the crime.
Right, but the main charge they're charging him with is $336 million in money laundering. For over 10 years.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, because I know sometimes we use terms interchangeably. So are they saying that basically the cryptocurrency that was invested was converted to money? Because I didn't see that anywhere in terms of, and it would have had to been converted to fiat.
They haven't made that clear.
US fiat.
Right, and the only thing they said is, let me quote it. The U.S. Justice Department accuses Sterlingoff of no less than $336 million in money laundering over Bitcoin Fog's decade online.
Huh. Okay.
So they don't really make it clear as to what was laundered. I mean, is it the Bitcoin that was laundered? Is it the money? And it's over 10 years, over a decade long. So is Bitcoin Fog still online right now?
Right.
Did they notify Sterlingoff that he's being accused? Did they go through the extradition process with Sweden to try to get him back to the U.S.? And why would they try to get him back to the U.S. to begin with? Because,
well, not back to the U.S., to the U.S.
Right.
Because he only came to the U.S. to go to flight school to become a commercial pilot. So, yeah, it's and in terms of laundering, yeah, you can launder crypto for other crypto, but you can also launder it for fiat. But none of that has been addressed. So, wow, all I can say is we need to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah,
we need to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah,
this was some good stuff. This was really, it's a juicy apple there, as they say. That's a juicy.
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions. It just brings up more and more questions.
Yes, because honestly, I guess the scary thing in all of this is if the government is able to do this, wow, that what does that say for anybody who does cryptocurrency transactions? Not saying laundering, but just transactions.
Right.
So that's, yeah, I think we need to keep an eye on this one. I think we need to see how this one goes and how things turn out, because
it sounds like Sterlingoff had no idea. If they charged him, it sounds like he had no idea that he was being charged. was why would he fly into the United States, knowing that they were looking out for him to charge him with money laundering?
Yeah.
It's so many questions. So many questions.
So tune in, folks. We'll keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a good follow-up episode at a later date once the government releases more information about what's going on with the case, because even the defense attorney, they can't even get any information about exactly what's going on. Yeah,
hopefully they will. Well, they're gonna have to before any court proceedings can happen. So who knows? unless some other laws are changed or ignored, or I don't know.
Right.
So
as soon as they come out with any information, we'll put it out there with a breaking news update regarding the money laundering trial.
Absolutely. All right. Send us out, brother. Send us out.
Well, be sure to like and subscribe to catch the next Mx3 Crypto Report. And as always, be sure to keep it crypto.
Peace.
Tomorrow can be a better day if you're looking to get some figures for better pay. Invest in yourself, man, that is the only way. Get your clout up, 100K followers. How you do that, man? By not being a follower. How you get there, man? Hustling and bustling. Then you spice it up, put some